Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be covering my round 1 tips for the AFL 2022 season. It is closing in really fast now. There's only a day to go as of recording this, so I better get this video out pretty quickly because the season is just about to start and frankly I can't wait, so let's just get into the tips. First up, we've got the opening match of the season between the grand finalists of last year, Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs. At first, when I saw this fixture, and probably along with most people, was thinking, why is this on a Wednesday night? Like, why did it need to be put on a Wednesday night? Why couldn't it have just replaced the Richmond-Carlton game? But now I don't really mind so much. I still think that it probably would be better on a Thursday night, but I guess one positive of it being on Wednesday is the footy comes one day earlier, and people will still come out in droves to watch it, so it'll still be a great game to watch, hopefully. I'm tipping Melbourne by 5 points. As you can see here, I've also gone with my leading goal kicker and most disposals. I just did that to kind of give this a little bit of variety from most other tipping videos. No other reason for that really, so yeah. Melbourne by 5 points. I've tipped it to be a bit of a high scoring game. It could be a lower scoring game, that would also be a possibility of happening. But quite often the opening games of the season are really free-flowing and both teams really really attacking game styles. And we've seen that both of these teams, when they get up and running, can score pretty quickly. So yeah, I think it'll be a cracker game. Melbourne by 5 points. Yeah. Second game of the round is what was the traditional opening game of the season between Carlton and Richmond on a Thursday night. This year it's not. Still on a Thursday night, but not the opening game. Yeah, this one I think could be closer than previous games because I reckon these two clubs are around the same mark in 2022. Richmond, a lot of people have got them bouncing back into the top 8, maybe even top 4. I don't see that happening. I think they'll push challenge for the 8, but they will fall short. Carlton probably do a similar thing, so this could be a close one. I'm backing in the favourites Richmond to get it done by 11 points. This is probably the first time for a while that you could say this game could go either way. Most of the time, it's just tipping Richmond. And this year, I'm still going to tip Richmond, but by a smaller margin, and it could be an entertaining game. The Friday night matchup now between the Saints and Collingwood. This is probably one of the easier games around to tip, I feel. St Kilda are definitely a better team than Collingwood right now. I think Collingwood, they're in a rebuild stage, while St Kilda, they're challenging for the finals, and I think they're a very real possibility of making it. I understand that both teams have a few players out with injury, and Collingwood have Braden Maynard out with suspension. Maybe one other player, but I'm not sure. As well as a couple of other injuries. So yeah, Collingwood, both teams not going the best with injuries already, but I think St Kilda are probably a 3 or 4 goal better team than the Pies, so I'll tip them in a bit of a low scoring one because, I don't know, maybe the Pies will have a completely different game style this year, but last year their game style was pretty slow and low scoring, but that could change. I don't know. Time to get into the Saturday games now, and the first of those Saturday games is Geelong vs Essendon at the MCG. So this is a Geelong home game, but it's not at Cardinia Park, which definitely favours Essendon. I think this game has some genuine upset potential. I think Geelong will get it done but yeah, this game definitely does have some upset potential. Geelong, they're an ageing team. they are still expected to fare better than Essendon this season, but they could find themselves falling off the face of the earth. That is a possibility. Like I said, I still think they'll get it done this game, but really upset potential here, I think. Next up, we've got arguably the biggest game of the round between GWS and my team, the Swans. Obviously, Buddy is currently only 5 goals away from kicking his 1000th AFL goal, and everyone will be watching, waiting for that to see if it happens in round 1 in front of 80,000 people. Obviously, it's listed as a GWS home game, but I think the Swans fans will be in far greater numbers than the GWS fans, because we have more fans than GWS right now, and I mean, what Swans fan wouldn't want to come out and see Buddy kick his 1000th goal, potentially? I mean, I've tipped him to kick it this game. I've jumped on the bandwagon of people tipping him to kick it. Obviously, I'm a Swans fan, so, I mean, of course I'm going to tip it. I'm a Swans fan. I'm biased, but yeah, this is definitely a danger game for us, especially if we do try and feed it to Buddy too much. We could sacrifice a win by doing that. I think we're a better team than GWS, but definitely is a danger game. These derbies always are, but this one especially is a danger game. I'm tipping us to win by 17 in a high-scoring affair, but really, this one could go either way. For the 6th game of the round, we got Brisbane vs Port at the Gabba. This game is my first tip for a real blowout. There's always at least 1 or 2 blowouts that are like 50-point margin minimum in round 1, and this is my tip for that game. Look, Port haven't had a good record over the Lions in recent times. I think their last 3 games, they lost by 49, 37 and 48. And then before that, they lost by 17. And at the Gabba especially, Port Adelaide have not fared well against the Lions at all. And I think Port are probably... They're not as good as Brisbane. They're still top 4, but Brisbane, I think, are like one of the most elite teams. I've got them tipped for my minor premiers this year. So yeah, Brisbane, they're a better team than Port, in my opinion. And at the Gabba, where they have a very good record over the Port Adelaide Football Club in recent times, I think they could really give them a pretty big thrashing. On to now the final 3 Sunday games of the round. This first one I think could go either way, probably. North Melbourne, I think they're a better team than Hawthorn, but Hawthorn have a good record in round 1 in recent times, and with a new coach, quite often teams with new coaches do get the win for their first game as a coach. But Hawthorn right now, this is the worst Hawthorn team we've seen for a long time. This preseason, they didn't really show anything to get excited about. The first game, they got thrashed by Collingwood until the VFL sides came on, and Hawthorn, the VFL side, Hawthorn smashed the Collingwood VFL side, which, yes, apparently that VFL side's pretty good, but not so much the AFL side. North Melbourne, they were pretty ordinary as well, but from what I saw last year, I think they are on the up, and of course, Hawthorn did finish off the year well last year too, but for the majority of the season coming up until those last 5 games, they were like the worst team along with North Melbourne, and I think North Melbourne are really on the up this year. Hawthorn probably going down. They're well and truly in a rebuild now. So yeah, I've got North winning this one by 8 points in a little bit of an upset, but that is just my tip. So for game number 8, we have Adelaide versus Fremantle at the Adelaide Oval. According to the AFL tipping website and the percentage of people who have tipped this game, this is a pretty 50-50 game, and I guess I can see why people think that, because Adelaide, I think, are on the up this season. And especially at Adelaide Oval, they can cause a few upsets. Obviously, last year in round 1, they shocked everyone by beating Geelong in round 1. No one saw that coming. Everyone thought Geelong were going to be like the best team, while Adelaide, they just come over like one of the worst seasons in their history of being in the AFL. Adelaide, I could see the same thing happening again this year, but I will go on the safer side with this one and tip Fremantle. I'll go with it to be a somewhat close game for most of the game, and maybe like the matchup between these two teams last year, Fremantle will kick away late. So Freo by 21. This is definitely some upset potential in this game, but I've gone on the safe side. And now it is time to get on with the final game of the round. So yep, time for the final game of the round. West Coast v the Gold Coast Suns. I have gone for an upset in this game. I've only really had one upset up until this point, and even that one game that I tipped North Melbourne to beat Hawthorn, I think that's borderline just a 50-50 game, that one. The odds and everyone's tips seem to be in favour of Hawthorn, but I think that's a pretty 50-50 game. This one, definitely people are favouring West Coast, but I think the Suns, they usually get off to good starts to the season, and West Coast this year, they look like utter shit, really. They just have so many players on their injury list. They were the worst team in the AFL preseason. They got smacked up by Fremantle by 97 in the practice match. They only lost to them by 13 in the second practice match, but Fremantle had way more scoring shots, and they definitely were the better team in the end. Probably lucky not to lose by a bit more, but it is just a preseason match, so it doesn't really need to be looked at too much. But yeah, West Coast, I've tipped them for the wooden spoon this year. Gold Coast, I have them finishing 17th, so not much higher, but the starts of seasons they typically do well in before completely crashing and burning in the second half of the year. So yeah, Gold Coast Suns by 22, they will perhaps shock a few people. I still don't have them going very well, but Gold Coast Suns in an upset, and that's all of the games in the first round of the footy. So anyways, everybody, that is all for today's video. The AFL is very close now, only a day away. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you thought of my predictions, and be sure to like and subscribe as always. I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully I get these tips somewhat correct.